Hello everybody, and I'm going to demonstrate to you today a universal design project that we have been doing is a seQR payments. So in order to walk us through our app, we use Apache cutover, and this is a mobile platform that allows you to run it on iPhone, Android and Windows Phone devices, all with same compatibility using just pure JavaScript, HTML and CSS. So I've linked it up to Firebase, which allows us to save stuff independently by a public URL link to this database, which allows you to put up JSON arrays, or as in you say, JSON objects. So for users here, we can create a user. So if we register, you have to match our regexes anyway. We have like say, an example at .com. You create a valid user as long as that user doesn't already exist. As you see, you have a balance example. We generously give you €20 starting credit. So proceeding into the app then. Now when you log in, it checks it's valid. And you get this security code, which is normally a text message. So on the mobile device you'll see that. Now this is usually an input box, but because this is an emulator for the Android phone, it will not work through this. So you have to generate the JSON that it takes itself. So you must match that email. If you don't match it 5 times, your account gets locked. So if you match the input, you get logged in. So now if you go to your profile, you can change your password here for the user. Obviously match the pattern again, and you're allowed to update that. As you see, you can see it updating in the database here. You can see there's a legend for telling you when there's changes, deletes or updates. So moving on to credit card purchases. If you go and try and top up, for example, it's the same format again. If you don't have a card, you cannot do it. So you go to a card then, you must fill out the correct format for a credit card. It must be valid within 2010, but the regex here is just confirming. As you see, it creates a card, and your details are in there. If you try to add another card, the way we've set it up is that you can't add one if you already have one, because we're only going to allow one card because we don't want to show any details. You can remove the card, which erases it as you can see, and you can't remove it again if there's already one. It's gone. So it tells you this. So universal design, showing the error tolerance and notifying the user of any kind of problems that may have occurred. So you're not allowed to top up without the card on. Now, the transactions log every transaction. So these could be anybody's. So these are generating unique keys. So if we go through here, anyway, as we carry on through, you can generate a QR code. So I don't know what happened there. If you pay, you can enter an amount, say like €1. If you generate that code, you will be asked to confirm your decision. If you agree, a code is generated, and as you can see, it creates a -1 logged transaction for the user ID. As you can see, this allows us to change all the logs of different IDs. So that will show up on your transactions. We will close this when it's been scanned. So there is no way of knowing when it's scanned to close it off. So we have made a preventation where you can't generate the same code twice. For a pay, you can, that's fine. Because you would obviously be paying money if you cheated by scanning it again. But in this case, we have validated it on the other side of the current user. To say, Telly wants to pay him €25, maybe I'm his friend and I want to give him some money. You have to confirm spending. If you don't have enough balance, you can't do it. So, say it was like €2 then. You confirm paying. That's the scan code. So that could be like a shop price and everything. So as you can see, another transaction goes in, -2. And that would say like Curry's, Banbury, PC World, whatever it is. From websites or whatever. And you can choose scan another one. So if you scan the same one again, it will allow you to pay, because obviously that's the logic that you will probably want to do that. But we still have failsafe that in case you misscanned it again at the shop. And say, so you've scanned this code already. And it's set to the current date that's checked to do this. So it prevents it within the same day. So we are assuming the date won't be changing, that it would leave it on the screen. We'll try to con you that way very quickly. So if I was paying, say, to Boyan, if I was getting money off Boyan, that's what the QR will generate will interpret. So I can accept that money. And then you successfully receive your money. You see the transactions here. Price of 2. So you're now down to €14. Again, you scan that. You choose what your option is. But it will tell you, so you've already done this, and no transaction is generated. As you can see, the values are only one time in there. Payment QR generates the name. Payment QR generated. A top up generates a top up generated. So again, you generate another card. This would obviously have to be generated via some API for validating cards, or the connections to check that they're still valid. So you have your name on the transactions history page. You can see we generated €5. We generated QR payment of €1. We paid Vitaly €2. So we're down €8, and then we went up 2 when Boyan gave us money. So our total balance is -€6 for this month, or whatever way we're going to generate it in the future. And the account balance is 14. So you can see where that came from. It's pretty much everything that we have. Profiles, updates, top-ups, cards, history, all this works with the new Firebase database. And the link into the Firebase object links into this web address here. And then the /cards or /transactions gets you into the individual table. If you look here, you can generate the JSON. So it's all JSON. And if we go into the code there for a moment, you can probably have a look at some of the connection strings. So if we go into the index, I'll show you a very simple one. This is for the login. This uses is just a new Firebase, and you put in the /users so you can see where that comes from. So you can insert or delete that way. Now this is a function that's triggered every time the page is loaded or when something happens to the database. So you wouldn't want to actually change any state of the database in here, because if you triggered something, like say you inserted a transaction and you add a transaction in that same loop, because you can just add to this, it will, as soon as you load it, it will trigger another insert into the database, because as soon as the database changes, it triggers the same function again, and that's going to trigger it to go in again, and it goes round and round in an infinite loop. So you want to be careful about changing any states, because when the page loads, this runs, and any other time it will run. So that can be handy on the cards page, because as soon as you insert a new card, it will automatically read the fact that there is a card in there and set the flag to ID that the card is already there, so that you can instantly call remove the card, and then remove the card won't work because it's ran the function again as soon as you've added the card. Or remove the card, it will actually detect the change. So here we would just check that it's a valid user before they log in, and that boolean is set as soon as they load it. So as soon as they fail, the database is searched, it will be loaded again every time they click the button. And that's all there really is to a connection string. So we can kind of look at the insert maybe for a register. Your obvious pattern regex logic and stuff. Because you can't have the page redirect while you're doing an insert, because it will take longer than the page takes to redirect, so you have to get around that a different way. As far as I could see, I just removed the form submit and just had an on-click trigger it. This is your connection again. I'll just use the same connections, so I just use like users, transactions and cards as your new connection. So this tells you the import regex that errors that you didn't get correct, in case the user didn't listen to our placeholders and put in the wrong number. So for the users, we get if the data, the key is every element in the data list for the users. So each user is checked. You can see if it's a valid user. Now, if the valid user is false, it's checking that the user doesn't actually exist. So you can actually do users just push, and you insert your user array into the method. So user ID will be that, balances that, emails that, passwords that, username is whatever the username was from all the details in the form. So if you look closely at the users, you can see for every entry, those are your key values there. You can clearly see they all match up. Now the thing about this is that they don't go in the order you do, they go in alphabetical, so B, E, P, U, S, I, N. So they always go in alphabetically. Just something to watch out for in case you get thrown off while you're debugging which way the data inserts, like I did myself.